So I'm going to start this video off what I think is probably one of the most important things one can realize when looking for profit, or maybe if you missed an entry. We'll just take a hypothetical for instance. So we're going to be looking at the 16th, which for all intents and purposes, the major move was here. You can see it drop down considerably. Now when you get these big red bars like this, sometimes we want to look at how much is actually covered in this distance. So if I go to a smaller time frame, a 1 minute, right? How does it look on the 1? Well, on the 1 we can see it went down, pulled back a little here, had a little bit there, a little here, then dropped, then started making its move up. Well, the 5 looks a little bit more elephant bar-ish. So you see a large bar, small bar, a large bar. Now we start seeing some green, and then we start seeing a base. We break the base, and we start moving up. Now, obviously, we would like to get in on this base area where it hits here, it hits here. We want it to break this bar here. And it breaks this bar here. However, look, it takes a tremendous move down, like 20 points off the bottom. So you're going to get stopped out there. If you look at this bar, it bases there as well. So you could probably even go off this here. Now let's presume that you missed this move up, or you missed part of it, and for whatever reason, or let's say you missed the move down and you're trying to catch the move up. So that's probably a little bit better. So let's say you looked at your previous data and you thought we have a massive uptrend, right? And we filled this smile. So we filled this entire move here, right? And you're waiting for it to cross here, there. You're waiting this move to go down, which is also a relatively easy trade to make. So let's say you get in here. This is the hourly, but we'll break it down into smaller. And let's say you wanted to, let's say you took this trade and by mistake you were on a practice account as opposed to a real account, and then now in your mind you want to catch the reversal. Once again, we're dealing with the 16th. So this is the 16th, and this is what's really going to come in handy, I think. If you break it down to the 1 minute, you gotta love this software, man. It always fucks you over. If you break it down into 1 minute, you can see it's a little bit choppier. So for instance, you have all these little bars, and then you get a big bar down, big bar up, big bar down, up, slam right down again. So it's a little harder to judge where you really want to take that entry. If anything, you'd want to take it as close as you could get to this line, which would be that wick, but it would have happened so quick I doubt you'd be able to get it. You probably would still get it here. That being said, I guess we'll cover all boundaries. It's a little harder to do the 1, but if you start seeing wick, right? It's just touching the meat of this area and breaking it ever so slightly. So that's 38 to 26. Still not the best play, right? I mean, but it's within reason. You can eat a 12 point move on one contract. So you could probably still take a little heat from that. But what I want to show you is I want to show you the 5, because it's a little bit interesting to read. So we know this move here is, that's a lot of heat. You know, we don't want to eat 20 points. And we know from 68 to 26, right? Get out of town. You can't eat that. Now here's our first green bar from the 5, but it's a wick. So that means when you see these wicks, you do need to go into smaller time frames to see how quick they happen, but they could happen like in a second, and it could be back there. So like this move here was fast. It was a shakeout. So anyone that was going long here immediately ate a huge run down, right? And then eventually started making their way up. So if you were in on this bar, you would play the next, you'd probably put your entry in here, put your stop loss there, and then immediately put an entry there. That would have been a good hit. But what I want to get into is, it's not that. I want to get into, a lot of times, you know you want it to go here. And if you're a stack trader, and you're doing like 3 contracts deep off of an entry, you're going to get wiped out, because you're going to be eating 60 points, a tremendous amount of heat. So if you're playing a breakout, meaning you think it's going to break out above this line, right? So let's say hypothetically you're playing the 5, you get the wick there, you go in on the next entry, which is here, and you go in 3 deep. You're starting to make money. Next thing you know, boom, you're out. You're wiped out. And that can be frustrating, you know, to a trader. You know, even as that goes up, you know, these levels of heat that you take are a lot. So let's go to a 1 minute. And that's kind of what I want to get at, is it's easy if you pick there, for instance, right? We're below that threshold. Here's your entry. You're in no danger of ever retracing that bar. It's just a straight dive down, for instance. So if your entry is here, you're perfect. You could have stacked that 3, 5, 10, whatever number you want, and you would never get stopped out until it came back up. However, when you look at this, bam, 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 bam. I want to look at this, and we'll use the 1 for an example, because you're going to get caught up in the moment. You might not, but sometimes human nature is a motherfucker. So let's say we're analyzing the down. We base here, right? Touch, touch. Miss a touch there. We base here. Touch, touch. And then all the way down here is a wick. So I would probably look here. And I might have got caught up in that basing area there. The fuck was that? So it's going down. We get a little uptrend. We touch again, we break down. Right? You following me? So if you took a heavy position here, you would have lost. If you took a heavy position here, you would have lost. Right? So even though you had this tremendous down move, and you're almost sure it's coming back, right? But you did. It did make its way back here. So your thought process of this retracement, this frickin' 55 to, well, let's take a look at it. 654, let's just go with this line, to 520, right? That's a 134 point move. right? That's bananas. And then 402 on a 3 contract, you know, etc., etc., etc. But what I'm trying to say is, if you get this tremendous move down, and it was such a safe entry there, for some reason it didn't work out, on the way up, it's choppy. It's very, very choppy. It's not as clean as it was on the way down. And you should establish that after you get taken out a couple times. So the advice that I want to give is, if you're normally, you find a position that you like to load up on, and you find you're taking a lot of heat, go to the smallest contract you can go to. So go to 1 contract. Okay? And so let's say you get spanked here. So this was your line, and then you're at 41. Next thing you know, you're at 20. That's 20 points of heat. Oh my God, can't take that. That's, you know, tremendous hit. So what I like to do is I like to try to figure out where my bottoms are. So this is my bottom here, right? I want to try to take a long off this without taking anything more than a decent amount of heat, maybe 10 points on a single contract. Or you could do, if you want, you could do 20, but that adds up quick. So another thing to do is to say, how much of this move do I want, right? So there's 3 ways to play this. One is you keep getting stopped out till you don't, right? So you play the line. Now mentally, you don't want to miss a trade, right? You don't want to have this massive elephant bar that just goes. But if you look at the pattern here, it's real stitchy. I don't think we're getting a runaway train. I think we're getting a methodical move up with big pullbacks. So, you know, your pullback from here is 99 to 68. That's monstrous. Your pullback here is 84 to 42, right? You're getting these 40-point pullbacks. And even on the small change shit, 62, 41. You're still getting 20 points. So if you trade anything more than 1 contract, you're getting slaughtered. So if you're trading the breakout, meaning you think it's going to break out of a top range. So if you think it's going to break out of this range here. So let's say you said there's a bottom, here's a range, right? I want it to clear this line here, and then I'm going long. Well, if you see, you get eaten up, make a little money, get chopped. Here's where you would actually continue your spread. So the question is are you going to be happy with like a 20-point, 10-point gain before you get popped? And then where are your entries going to be? If you start noticing this choppy figure, right, this choppy range, and you're getting taken out, a thing to do would be to draw a rectangle on that range. But here, we've already established a bottom here, right? So you're playing this range, you got a bottom. You're playing this area, you got a bottom here. Let's draw the bottom we just got there too. So we hit here, a bottom here, we go up, we stop. Our next minute bar is here. So if you're playing this correctly, I actually want to delete that if you'll let me. If you're playing the downtrend correctly and you're able to capitalize on this bar here breaks this line, right? And then the second bar moves up from there. It's not a bad play to maybe take a long here. right? And it wouldn't have been a bad play to take along here, take 10 points of heat, get out, and then as it crosses over, get in here. That would have been a perfect entry, right? So if you nailed that, congratulations. You're in no danger of ever getting chopped out of a 10-point heater, right? Now here's where it gets tricky. If you missed this run, and you know this is a range, so look, it goes up, down, up, down, all the way down to here, breaks back up, goes down again, and then it starts ranging into here again, right? Your best bet is to do what? Never play the breakout top. Just don't play it. Play this line here. Play the pullback. So if you, once again, if you miss, here's our low, here was our line. We want to go in when it crosses this line. We don't want to take more than 10 points of heat. So here it goes up, starts moving down. We could get out there, or we could ride it and get out, eat the 10 points. The other thought process is this, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but nobody wants to miss like a big run, like bang, bang. Now that was 2 minutes. It covered from 5:02, to 50. So within 2 minutes, it shot all the way up to there, pulled back to here, which was once again a perfect entry point. The break bar, that 1 minute, that would have been a tough wick to catch though. But here's the philosophy in this: you either play the pullbacks. So you play this bar here, right? You play the pullback. So if you miss this entry and it goes up, don't try to get the breakout, which would be here. Just don't do it. Play the pullback. So now you're playing this green bar here. If you play this green bar successfully, it's going to wick really fast, bang, and then you can catch it here on this line. Now you've played this pullback successfully, and you're only going to eat, 40, 35, 5 points of heat. And that's not bad. So now you can do one contract. It goes up, it pulls back. You can do another contract here. Okay, it goes all the way up, goes all the way down. You're back to 0 again. You're taking some heat, right? But you're not taking much because the amount of money you made here negates that money there. So if you lose that, you're break even. Now you're losing money. Now you're back to making money again. So the most important thing, especially if you're a stack trader who likes to go 3 deep, like right there, I would have gone 3 deep. And on a lot of these trades, sometimes I do go 3 deep, but 3 off the base. So, I'm looking to catch, 20 to anywhere from 30 to 60 points. And I'll 3x that. And that's my entire day. That's really all I'm looking for. It's between $1,000 and $2,000. But you had a beautiful drop down. You had a range, right? You broke it. Now you have a new base. You break that. Now you're playing this base. It never comes back to touch this base. So now we got to look for the next line up, which is here, right? It touches it there. There's our entry. There's our stop loss. And now we're playing the pullbacks. So it goes up, pulls back. Now we can do another position here if we want, or we could wait till it pulls back to this line, and we could double our position. And then as it continues to go up, If you wanted to add on another position, you can add it on here. Do you see how much more sense that makes than to try to go 3 deep here and eat a loss, 3 deep here, eat a loss, or 1 deep, or 2 deep there, eat a loss. All right, how about the breakout here? I'll try this breakout here. I'll just go one contract. Jesus Christ, just go up, bam, you're dead. So, you know, if you're playing that style, you're dead. You're dead. You're just eating these huge losses. Why are you eating these huge losses? Because you're not waiting for your established pullbacks, right? So, god damn it, I'm sorry guys. So we know we based here, touch, 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 right? We topped here. We based again here, and we had a drop down there. We shot up here, beautiful entry if you caught that. By the way, bravo. We went all the way up to here. Now here you're thinking, fuck, I better get it, I better get it, I better get it. Don't do it. Here's a baseline here. We're probably coming back to touch this baseline. If we're gonna go through all this choppy shit, odds are there's a fairly good chance we're coming back to this line. Maybe even this line. We don't know that because we don't have the data. So if you're playing this, you're like, maybe I'll go long here. Looking okay, looking all right, stop loss. Okay, next time it touches this line, I'm gonna go long on the pullback, which would be a good trade, right? So here's your second trade. You're starting to make money, and then you know it goes here, boom, stop loss. Now the other way, early in the video, I was talking about there's a couple ways to play this. If you're chasing a monstrous move up and you've established a baseline, if it goes below this baseline, you don't need to have a 10-20 point stop loss. If you don't want, you can have almost an immediate stop loss and then just play the line. So let's say you're playing this, you get stopped out, bang, you've established a low. Now you can either play the meat or the wick of the low, depending on how you move your draw your lines. I a lot of times play the meat, but let's say you just played the lowest of the low, which would be here. I play the meat, but whatever. So let's say here's your second entry, right? I'm going to put my stop loss just right there, just below it. I don't care. So it goes up, boom, takes me out. All right, now I have a low here. I'm going to put a buy in right above that stop loss, right? Because I'm playing this line now. Before I was playing this line, got chewed up a bit. Now I'm playing this line. So the second it hits this line and breaks up again, pulls all the way back down, doesn't stop me out, pulls up again, pulls all the way back down. Now I'm at my second line. Do you understand? My second base. The reason why these bases are so important is because what once was support, like that support, and then it shattered it. Normally it becomes resistance, but it breaks all the way up to here, goes all the way down. So really it's shattering the fuck out of this line. It's not the greatest line. But it is important because it based there. And because it based here, I would use that for an entry. So as it breaks up, pulls back down to here, I might wait till, if it breaks it, great, but I might look to go long here for a second position, right? Because I'm playing the pull back. I got chewed up here, I got chewed up here, and I'm playing this line. So I take my long here, I take my second position here, and I can take a third position there. So even if it retraces, right, this first move has paid for this range. The second move is paid for this range. My third contract is already paid for from here to here. If it goes all the way down here, that could suck. But a lot of times these lines become support, right? So it bounces off of them. If we look for another line, it would probably be there, but I don't think it plays that. Fucking Christ. You gotta love this software. So this would be another line to play, maybe for another position to add on to. If it pulls, well, if you're playing the 1 minute, it's super choppy, but you could probably wait till it breaks this line. So it breaks it, pulls back, and when it breaks it again, you could add on to it. But I don't think that's necessary. You're already 1, 2, 3 contracts. That's enough. And now these stitches are no longer a threat. And then your goal, or your line at which you really want to take that profit at, you now have accomplished. So you missed the easy trade. Now you're in the chop, right? It's just stitching. And you're thinking, oh, I'm going to play a breakout top, meaning I'm going to play a top and I want to break out of that top. Kind of like if I was playing that bar there and I just broke out of that, you know, and then I don't have to worry about any heat because of that. But in reality, it's not a guaranteed win. So you might have ended up with a power move that just goes all the way up. Well, the reason why I'm telling you this is because if you catch the power move, great. If you miss the power move, who gives a fuck? There's always going to be another trade. There's always going to be another opportunity to make money. Once it hits this line here, you could look for shorts. You know, you can look for nice 10 to 20 point moves, and you would catch it all day long, just waiting for it to re-break this line. Down, 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 down. You get fucked here. And then you get chopped up here, and then it goes down. But there's plenty of ways to play it. But you can also establish different trend lines. So when you're playing the pullbacks, you've established your horizontal lines, right? And then once you really get, let me take a look at this. It's a little tough to play here, but once you've established this pullback to your secondary line, meaning you had your true bottom, but then you really had your base. That was more kind of like a washout move. I would consider this more of a base, but I mean, I guess in theory we have to go from the bottom. But once you pull back to this area here, especially on the second one, if you wanted, you could try to establish a pattern, and you could play both sides of the pattern. You don't have to play the bottom. You could also run a pattern on the top. So what this is doing is it's giving us an opportunity to establish a different type of trend. So now, if we're playing off of this top line, normally you would short off of that, but you could also play off this bottom. So there would be an entry, here would be an entry, and that's about it. So 1, 2. You also could have played that. So you could have played an entry here, right? Which would have been beautiful. That's still a great entry. Off that low and that pullback there, you could play it here, and you still would have caught 64 to 56. Now if you played this one, 560 to 650, you know, 80 points. Either one of those moves is monstrous. But I think this is more of a waiting game. So you would establish a low here, You establish this here, bang, there's your line. That's your entry. So that would be more of a wait and see how it's going to play that trend. If it doesn't shatter the trend down, you take that entry, and that's really a good long. But I think the other way, so here, let's say 10 points. So you're playing this, boom, you're good, you eat your 10, you're out. You play this, you eat your 10, you're out. You're down 20 points, right? Now, if you play this line here, which is the second bar, which is the perfect entry if you're in front of your computer and you're watching it, that's the perfect entry. But let's say you missed that. But if you did play that, bravo, there's your second, and you're playing off your lines. There's your third. Never touches here. That could be another entry there. So ideally, that's the sweet spot. If you miss that, you're playing the pullback to this line, which also hits there. And to be honest, if you're drawing a trend and you play that, that's not too bad. That's 39 to 65. So you wouldn't have lost too much. But now you start building your position based off of your baselines. So we have baseline, baseline, baseline. That's the top, which might become another base, which is fairly close to there. It probably is a little bit more accurate on the trend. It almost never hits that line though. You know what I mean? But it's close. So, but I would still be a fan of this entry. If you miss this entry, do not play the bullish move up. Wait for the pullback to your secondary baseline, which is here. If you miss that, it's there. It gives you several opportunities to make that move. And if it skyrockets up and you miss that, you can draw a trend line, wait for the pullback to the trend, right? If you're a deviant motherfucker and you want to play the short for scalping 5 to 10 points, you could play scalp off the top, which would have not been. I don't think that's the smarter way to go. I think based on the data that we have, right? Monsters move down, a little bit of chop, monsters move up. This is fluid and easy. They make you pay for this, right? You can see by 1, 2, 3, by the fourth bar, it's bang, 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 right? It's you're caught in the fucking chop, baby, and you're losing money left and right. And that's the most important thing I wanted to talk about, was protecting your capital. Why? Because this is one day. In your mind, no one ever talks about this when you're day trading or when you're doing anything, but it's one day. It doesn't mean shit. And it truthfully doesn't. This is the best move of this entire day. Bang, bang, in my opinion. Right? If you miss this and you're flustered or you get upset, simply turn the computer off. Wait till the next day, right? So what are we playing? We're playing the 9. We'd be playing the 17. Oh God, that's so beautiful right there though. Crossover, bam. But then on the 16th, rides it out. You have a top, topping off of that ridge all the way there. And you almost have a bottom here, right? There's your entry. Right fucking there. Play right off that base. That's I wouldn't worry about that. Look at all those touches. Ting, ting, ting. I'll draw it for you. Right there. If you wanted to play a drop, you might have got chewed up there, but look at this entry here. Once again, good night, Irene. But you're not holding it past 4 because you need a higher account. So we can just draw that line over there, which, oh my God, correlates exactly with that fucking low there. So there's your 100 plus move, your 100 plus move, your 100 plus move. That's at 320. Bang, bang, bang. So if you miss this, who the fuck cares? That's what I'm talking about. If you miss this, who the fuck cares? You miss this, who the fuck cares? Though it would be comical to miss, you know, a 300 plus point move. And if you multi-contract that, you know, 900 to 1,000 points, it doesn't matter. A very interesting day to make money on. But that's exactly what I'm saying, though, is, you know, you come into these areas, there's another V, there's a V, there's a fill, there's always another opportunity to cash in on a beautiful move, right? And granted, that's the 5. Looks, you know, the 15, you can see these fills, you know, it's all over the place. Never think you miss the best opportunity of your life trading. There's always going to be a replicate. There's always going to be another one. And remember, it likes to repeat itself, but it doesn't always have to be the same. It could be very choppy on that move up, in which case you have to establish a very good pull down area. But thank you so much. That's the video for today.